Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
Right now, we're talking about JT Miller. Brian Bartlett of Bartlett Hockey is JT Miller's agent, and he joins us now. Brian, thanks so much for doing this. How are you, sir?
My pleasure. Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Did you know that JT was going to speak out? And if so, did you talk to him before he did?
I did not know in advance, and I don't think he knew in advance either, that part of the player's role and their job is to have some media availability. And this year it's a little bit different. It's not grabbing players after practice. It's these kind of scheduled ones with Zoom calls or phone calls or whatever it may be. And I think JT was really just answering the questions that were presented to him. I talked to him as soon as he hung up off that call to give me a heads up of what he had talked about. But I don't think he was planning on taking a stand. I don't think he was trying to get out in front of it to do it. He answered the questions that were asked and really found a good opportunity to stand up for himself and his teammates in it. So it wasn't a concerted effort here. It was reactionary, but he did a great job with it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, do you, and this is our white spot poll question today, do you admire him for speaking out?
I did hear that. I'm definitely in the 96%. I did right away. And JT and I, and not just JT, our clients across the league, we've had conversations like this throughout the year of saying, where are we in kind of the health and safety thing? Is this safe? And most of the time, the league and the team has done a great job of lining it up. This is one where, I think is a unique situation, and glad that JT brought some light to it, but very proud of him. As I said in a tweet last night too, that being out in the spotlight, I don't think makes it any easier to stand up. For once, oftentimes it's harder because you have more to lose. He's making millions of dollars, and there's a little bit of a sentiment of, hey, just collect your check and go play and get over it. And I understand that piece of it too. So I think it takes even more bravery to stand up and very much supportive and proud of JT.
Hey, Brian, you've obviously known JT a long time. You know him a lot better than anybody in Vancouver. What's the makeup of his character that allows him to be so honest in interviews? Because not every player is like that. A lot of players give you vanilla comments. A lot of players are like, you know what, I'm not going to, they're safe. What is it about his character, Brian, that allows him to be so honest in his opinion with the media?
Yeah, I've known JT since he was probably 15 years old. I first met him in Pittsburgh when he was growing up and was a top player then. And I think from him it really stems from his parents. That's how they always interacted with him. That it was brutal honesty. It was upfront. It wasn't sugarcoating things. Good, bad, or indifferent. His mom Jen and dad Den did a great job raising him that way. That you confront things head on, and it's worked well for him in some instances, and it's worked poorly for him in some instances. He's had ones where he's gone and spoken out or spoken his mind either to a teammate or a coach or a general manager, and it wasn't as accepting at that time. And that's really been part of his maturation process of figuring out when are the right times to stand up, when do you go and do it maybe in a quieter forum, when is it more upfront. But he's never wavered from that. He's, we've had some conversations with me where he's told me things that he isn't happy about what I'm doing or what we're doing, and I've always appreciated that you know exactly where you stand with JT. His teammates know exactly where they stand with him, and he gets that back from people. I think that's why he's been a successful player and a successful father and husband, and all those reasons is he's going to be honest. So it's very easy to be honest back with him too, because you know he's not filtering it, so you have no reason to filter anything with him, which has been it's refreshing.
Hey, Brian, I always say leadership is something that you just can't get out of the blue. Human beings, individuals work on leadership and they get it at certain times in their careers or in their lives. When did you sense that JT had some leadership qualities?
It's always been there underneath a little bit. And it really has been since he's come to Vancouver that it's been refined and I think championed. He was on different teams in different places, either with the Rangers or Tampa, where he was, a good piece on a team. There's older guys, more established guys, great leaders like Ryan Callahan on the Rangers. You had Stammer and Kucherov and those guys in Tampa. So he was never looked at as that guy that would lead, and he didn't push his way through really till he got to Vancouver. And then you can see all those traits that were always there, that were always pushing himself to be great. I think once he got to Vancouver and guys started looking at him in that light, he then used that to help other people elevate, which has been amazingly rewarding to see, in a trade that there was some trepidation about originally coming over, crossing the border, coming to a Canadian city, all that stuff. But it's worked out great in his growth as a person and a player.
We're talking with Brian Bartlett. He's JT Miller's agent, among other NHL players. Back to the events of the last week, Brian. Whose decision? Rick and I are both wondering where the PA was in all of this. But whose decision was it to play for the Canucks 19 games in 31 days?
Yeah, my understanding is that it was done in collaboration with the NHLPA, the NHL, the team, and even the player reps for Vancouver, I think, were to some degree in it. And if you look back and kind of step back a little bit, you look at Dallas has had a compressed schedule. Montreal has had a compressed schedule. New Jersey's had a compressed schedule. Buffalo's had a compressed schedule. There have been other sort of ones, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple, that if you look probably in a snapshot of number of games in a number of days, it's not like this is the only one where people have had a compressed schedule where there's back-to-backs. I think they've had another week off, Vancouver has, so it's longer. But, kind of my understanding of the conversation was saying, hey, most other teams, once they had a set number of people cleared, we got a game of practice, and then we get a day of practice, and we get right into it. So I don't think it's different in that way. I think what's made this one different is that it's bumping up towards the end of the season, that there's no relief after it, saying, okay, we're going to squeeze it in, and then you get to take a break. And also the number of symptomatic cases and the number of people that are still feeling some of the effects of this on Vancouver, I think, are much higher quantity than they were in some of the other situations. And that, I think, is what's kind of brought everybody to take a step back here and make sure that we're doing the right things for the players' safety.
Brian, 2 seasons left on JT's contract. Is he happy in Vancouver?
He is happy in Vancouver.
How do you explain the chemistry between him and Elias Pettersson?
It's worked out great. It's been fun to watch. I think that part of it is JT's a versatile guy, that he can play, as we've seen, in the middle, on the wing, and he looks to do things differently depending on who he's playing with. He can be a shoot-first guy. He can be a pass-first guy. He can have some weight and heaviness along the boards. He can haul it if you need. And, to be fair to both JT and Peterson, I think 2 superstar players that both would have chemistry with almost anybody you put them with. I think 2 really good players. Usually those guys figure it out. But I think it's that. It's 2 smart players that can adapt their play based on how, either the game or the shift or the situation's going. And when you have 2 of those guys on a line, it can get scary real quick.
All right, Brian, thanks so much for doing this. Fairly short notice, so we really appreciate it. I believe you also represent Cale Makar, so his contract is coming up, so you've got some work to do. Thanks so much, Brian.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.